Okay, so as we wait for that story, it's titled Trouble in Tiaty. John Alanamu is in studio with me.
Yes.
After such a long time, good to see you, by the way. Listen, tell me a little bit about this story.
Well, you see, Baringo County was a county that almost to a man voted for the Jubilee Alliance, the then Jubilee Alliance in 2013. Turnout being upwards of 90% in maybe about 3 or 4 of the 6 constituencies.
And that 90% voted for Jubilee.
And that 90% almost to a man voted for the Jubilee Alliance. But there seem to be cracks emerging at the edges of Baringo County, specifically with Tiaty constituency. I think one of the facts, and you'll see it in the story, one of the facts is that it has the highest death rate of any county in the country of political aspirants.
You have 3 dead in 3 months.
3 dead, 3 months, and the violence hasn't abated there. It has a lot to do with a drought situation that we faced earlier, as well as a shoot-to-kill order by William Ruto.
And cattle rustling in between.
As well as cattle rustling.
Okay, listen, let's take a look at that story, then we'll have this conversation again.
A war of attrition in Tiaty constituency, Baringo County, has seen 3 aspirants for political seats murdered in 3 months, the highest death rate in any political race for any political office in the country.
Tunapatia wewe na timu yako ya security. Tunakupatia siku ngapi? Siku mbili.
The violence may be internal, but it's rocking the foundations of what was, in 2013, a county that voted for the Jubilee Alliance almost to a man. And today, a storm is gathering in Tiaty.
Na kuna kura tunapiga yote na ballot box irudishwe.
KANU's William Kamket is literally the last man standing in the now bloody contest for the Tiaty parliamentary seat. On the 18th of February, one of his competitors, the Jubilee aspirant Pepe Kitamba, who beat current Tiaty MP Asman Kamama in the Jubilee nominations, and Loyamurok MCA Kibet Cherete, was shot to death in a bar not far from where Kamket and I meet on this day.
Leo ni leo, tell your fellows to stop parroting. Remember, your days are numbered. Can I campaign now? I don't know. How can I campaign? How can I campaign? First of all, we have these deaths to deal with.
Death seems to be the watchword in Tiaty. And whoever the grapevine pins these murders on will likely be a loser in these elections. Given that Pepe Kitamba bested Asman Kamama in the Jubilee primaries before his death, that scarlet letter had been Kamama's to carry, in spite of a lack of proof. But then another murder may have absolved Kamama of suspicion and made the politics of Tiaty even more dangerous. The body of one Thomas Minito, the MCA for Churo Ward and Kamama's brother-in-law, was found floating in the Oldonyo Sabuk River.
Unaona pale. Mwili tuliutolea pale hivi.
He was last seen 5 days earlier in Kabarnet.
The people who picked him claim to be police officers. As politicians, I think our safety is not guaranteed.
Those words are much heavier, given that Kamama is the current chair of the Parliamentary Committee on Internal Security. But their impact is even heavier if you cast your eyes backwards to the last 6 months of the year. Drought had devastated the landscape all across Kenya, but the drought was driving conflict in Baringo, Laikipia, Turkana, Samburu, and Isiolo counties. The Pokot, whose fearsome reputation as among the most dangerous group of herders, was said to be on the offensive in Baringo and Laikipia, raiding the Tugen in Baringo and invading ranches and farms in Laikipia. Then came this.
Muhalifu yoyote aliye na silaha ameua kina mama na watoto, pia na nyeye asibakishwe.
Patia bunduki Tugen, patia bunduki JMC, patia bunduki Turkana, patia bunduki hii Samburu, sisi tukabaki peke yake.
This feeling of vulnerability and the murders of their leaders is spawning bitterness and a revolt against the ballot.
Saizi tunaweza chukua caravan moja tuhubiri Tiaty mzima, tuseme hakuna kura tunapiga yote na ballot box irudishwe.
And in an election where turnout is everything, statements like these matter. In 2013, Baringo County had 173,653 registered voters. 20,469, or 8.5% of them, came from Tiaty constituency. Out of every 10 people who registered in Tiaty, 8 turned up to vote. And 3 out of every 4 voters there voted for the Jubilee Alliance. The trouble with Tiaty for any political formation is the insecurity itself. For Jubilee, it is that a once unshakable stronghold is now crumbling from the margins. For other parties, it is that they may not be able to campaign in the region. For both, it's the word that all politicians fear: apathy.
Atupigi kura tena. Kama mimi mwenyewe msipigi milele na milele.
Okay, so John Allan Namu worked on that story for you. John, you may want to break down the numbers and tell us why probably Jubilee may not get the same numbers in this coming election.
Well, you see, with about 173,000 voters...
Could you have the numbers on the Super Bowl, please?
Yeah, 173,000 voters in Baringo County.
Yes, there we go.
No matter how you slice it, these numbers aren't going to be solidly within the Jubilee camp. If you think about it, Baringo County is also the home of competition between KANU and the Jubilee Alliance.
Yes.
KANU, which seems like an uncomfortable bedfellow with the Jubilee Alliance, some weeks ago even saying that if the deputy president doesn't stop his pronouncements about Baringo Central...
it's interesting that you mentioned that. That's part of the conversation we're having right after this,
yes.
this bulletin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those statements about the senator for Baringo, former Baringo Central MP, Mr. Gideon Moi, that they may decamp. But that's just a big sort of general picture story.
Yeah.
If you go to Baringo South, there's Amos Olempaka who's running there. He represents the Ilchamus community. He's running against 4 candidates, all from the Tugen. If they slice up their votes, you could see a NASA candidate win in Baringo South.
Wow.
But more importantly to the story with Tiaty, there's not just apathy, but a protest vote against the Jubilee Alliance because of the pronouncements of the deputy president, because they feel...
And probably because...
because they feel that they have been targeted. The Pokot community has been targeted in 2 separate military operations there in 2014, 2016, going into 2017. Okay. And the actions that take place in Tiaty constituency also affect West Pokot, which now is, of course, a solidly KANU zone, but will likely vote in protest for the NASA alliance.
Okay. This is me about to say we need to have an analytical show, like so that you can look at all the regions and all the counties and then break down the numbers and see which way this may go.
That's what we're going to be doing.
A predictive kind of show.
Let's hope so.
All right, John Allan Namu.